Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining me on another one of our Slice of Healthcare podcast. I'm your host, Jared Taylor. Today I'm here with the founder and CEO at Noula Health, Noelle Acosta. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Jared. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having
Yeah,
me.
absolutely. I'm excited to have you. I think we keep these short and sweet, so I'd love if you could tell the audience a little bit about your background, and then we'll move on to hear more about your company.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my background is a little unconventional. I studied pre-med in undergrad, and my goal was to become an OBGYN. But I actually fell in love with entrepreneurship and, believe it or not, sales in my undergrad years when I started and bootstrapped a subscription box company for pet owners with $200. I grew it to over 100 monthly subscribers in less than a year, and this was before Instagram ads were a thing, influencers, and so that was really my first taste of the entrepreneurial journey. And I ended up selling my company at 21 years old. And so after that, I did the complete opposite. And instead of pursuing medical school, I took the leap into tech sales in San Francisco. So I really built up my career leading and scaling go to market sales syndicates at a variety of B2B tech SaaS companies and digital health companies. I most recently I was at a company called Maven Clinic, which is the largest women's and health family telehealth company, and now I've been building Noula full time since. But yeah,
Yeah, I really liked seeing that you came from Maven Clinic, and I'm sure
yeah,
that experience there will also help you with this venture. So really excited,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
obviously all the pieces of your background, right? How they come together. It's not every day that someone that wanted to be an OBGYN also got into sales. That's kind of a powerful combination. Because a lot of people don't. A lot of people in college in general, right? Don't learn the kind of intricacies of sales. But you have
Hmm.
to sell yourself every single day in some way or another. So very cool. Uh, can you talk us through that? Kind of led into the why here a little bit, right, for the company. But can you talk us through, if there's anything else you want to add, great. But the why, how, what of the company?
Yeah, absolutely. So my why really stems from my personal experience navigating my reproductive health as a woman of color. So I'm half Mexican, half Filipino, and in 2019 I was navigating some challenges with my reproductive health, and I hope you don't mind me being very transparent here. But during this time, I was menstruating for 6 months straight. Some days my cramps were so bad that I couldn't stand up straight. I was vomiting, and I was someone who had wonderful employer sponsored health insurance. I had access to high quality care being in San Francisco. And when I would go to the doctor, I really found that my experience, my pain was being dismissed. To make a very long story short, I ended up becoming so incredibly frustrated to the point that like 70% of millennials, I ended up turning to Google as my medical doctor, looking to them for medical advice. And luckily, like being a former pre med student, I knew how to read medical journals. So at least to help me get to an understanding of what is going on with my body. And so I spent months, nights and weekends reading medical journals just to really try to figure out what was going on with my body and essentially self-diagnosing myself. Um, this is also when I learned about the maternal health crisis here in the US. But at the time, I decided, okay, enough is enough. I demand an answer, and I demand some action on how I can to help me feel better. So I went back to the doctor and pushed for an ultrasound, essentially self-diagnosing myself, saying, "Hey, I think I have cysts, fibroids, endometriosis. I don't know what, but I want an ultrasound." And turns out I did have 45 cysts on my left ovary, and I'm I long story short, they essentially said, when you're ready to have a family, let us know. We can figure out a plan from there. And so to this day, I actually haven't gotten a proactive care plan to take care of myself. I've treated myself as a guinea pig throughout my health journey. And so that really inspired me to start Noula. I became a certified birth doula and really just started talking to as many birthing parents and women as possible to really understand more about their journeys and if they experienced anything like I did, right? I thought if that was my experience as someone who had access to care and just the know how to push back, with my medical care team. I can't imagine what women who look like me go through who don't have access to those resources or even the know-how to advocate for themselves in that situation. So I knew I wanted to build something better. So I sought out to speak to as many birthing parents as possible. I biked all around the hills of San Francisco, basically chasing down anyone to see if they'd be open to chatting with me, learning a little bit more about the idea in my head to see if that's something that they would entertain. And after interviewing over 230 birthing parents over Zoom, I found that across the board, no matter where they were, specifically in their pre and postnatal journeys, is where we focused. Less than 2% of them felt adequately supported in their journey. 80% felt stressed and anxious throughout their journey. And 98% of the folks I've interviewed really looked outside of their doctor's office to proactively take care of their health. And they mainly did this through nutritional and lifestyle tweaks. And that's no surprise when the average appointment, a doctor's visit today is only 7 minutes. You can only personalize someone's care journey so much. So I remember one woman telling me that she wished she had this all-knowing older sister who could tell her everything that her body needed and everything to do so she felt support in her journey. And that's really what sparked Noula to become what it is today. So we are meant for birthing parents and women who just want to better understand and take care of their bodies and their motherhood journeys. So Noula provides members with personalized insights into their reproductive health through at-home testing of key wellness biomarkers that are linked to optimal pre and postnatal health, and continued support through in-app care plans that are designed to help them lead healthy pregnancies, births, and beyond. We are also offering our app in Spanish from day one because we wanted to include all members, especially, Hispanic birthing parents who are disproportionately impacted by poor maternal and fetal outcomes here in the US.
Thank you so much, by the way, for sharing your story and also your personal story included in that. And as I always tell
Absolutely.
people, it's very rare that the why from the founder doesn't it always matches, like your background always matches up to the why of the company
Hmm.
and makes perfect sense, right? Because most of the time founders end up trying to solve problems that affect them first, and then through research they find out that it affects a lot more people than just themselves,
Yeah.
and then branch it out from there. But I think if it doesn't affect you first and foremost, you don't necessarily spend a ton of time researching, right? That's what makes a founder a good founder.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
thank you so much for sharing. Now, I want to talk a little bit about quickly. You recently announced I think it was 1.4 million pre-seed round of
Yes.
financing. Can you
Yes, that's
talk a little
correct.
bit about who invested in that round?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm thrilled to share that Nula has raised an oversubscribed pre-seed round of 1.4 million. The round was co-led by Muse Capital and Precursor Ventures with some wonderful value add and follow-on investors, including Visible Hands, which was a fellowship designed for underrepresented founders that I joined last year, along with Krista Golly Ventures, Inicio Ventures, and strategic angels like Alex Cohen of Alex and Bar Angel Fund. He is a 2 times exited founder himself and helps lead product at Carbon Health, as well as Jill Koziel, who is the founder and CEO of Motherly, which is a media platform for and community for mothers. They have about 30 million monthly members in their platform today.
And now that you've raised this round, I mean, this is really, you're really kicking things off, right? What's next for the
Mm-hmm.
company?
Yeah, so really what we're using this round for is to launch and get into market. So we are gearing up to launch next month, which is going to be incredibly exciting. So members will be able to finally have access to Noula Health. We've had a long waiting list of users who've been following along on our journey. And so um, towards the end of next month, our members will be able to sign up for a subscription with Nula where they can sign up for either a 6 month, 12-month, or even just a one time subscription where they have access to the at home testing and an unlimited access to personalized care plans, dedicated support from a Nula care coach, along with that, and access to community events that are moderated and led by reproductive and nutrition experts. So it's launch the product and build out our founding team.
Well, I hope we're able to have you come back on in the in the near future to kind of give us an update on where you're at and kind of some of the new things that are happening. But I mean, we really pride ourselves on having founders talk about their teams at the earliest points, because then we can really build this long story right throughout the journey of you and your startup. So I want to thank you again for joining me on the podcast today, and hopefully again we can have you come on again real soon. Really appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Jared. I could go on and on about this. So I appreciate your time and thank you.